Okay, welcome. We will begin the meeting for the Washoe County Open Space and Regional Parks Commission. And the first item on is call to order. Roll call.
Doug Doolittle.
Present.
Stephanie Chen.
Present.
Timothy Dake.
Present.
Maxwell Di Natale.
Present.
Kevin Joel.
Present.
Nicholas Martin Kearney.
Present.
Darla Lee. I'm not seeing Darla. Omar Raines. We were expecting him, but I'm not seeing Omar. Lisa Rode.
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Kevin, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, item 3, public comments. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda. Are there any public comments?
No public comment.
I see nobody in the audience. All right, approval of agenda for the Open Space and Regional Park Commission meeting of September 6, 2022. And before we go to approval, I want to indicate that item 10 has been scratched for this meeting and will be on a future meeting, possibly.
We need a motion. I motion we approve as amended with item 10 removed.
Second?
I'll second that.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Aye.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Aye.
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 Item 5, approval of the minutes for the Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting of August 2nd, 2022.
Commissioner Chen, I move to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There is a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Chair Doolittle, sorry for interrupting. I do recommend that on the action items, you request public comment.
Aye, yeah. All right. No problem. Before the vote is taken, is there any public comment on item 4?
I'm seeing
Seeing
no
none?
public. No public comment.
I call for the motion. Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes. Item 6, acknowledgement and recognition of park operations staff for their outstanding service and contributions to Washoe County. Are there any acknowledgements? Seeing none, thank you very much. Item 7, Eagle Scout presentations, and I believe we have 2. And who's going to lead this effort?
Hello. There we are. Good afternoon, commissioners, distinguished guests. For the record, Nick Stoyer, Park Ranger with Washoe County Parks down in Davis Creek Regional Park. And it is my privilege to introduce to you Eagle Scout candidate Sovereign Edmonds, who chose Davis Creek Regional Park for his project. I will let him go through this presentation. So without further ado, Mr. Edmonds.
All right. Before I get started, is the clicker this thing for the slides?
Yes.
Okay. So my project was on July 12th at Davis Creek. And what I did, I built a retaining wall from railroad ties in front of the bathroom facility because it kept flooding with any rainwater. And we also replaced 7 of the fire rings. The previous fire rings caused some fire hazards and didn't function that great, so we replaced those.
You can hit it
Is there
one
any
more
way you
time.
can scroll down a little?
Yeah, just hit it one more time to advance.
No, okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. So on the left there, you'll see the wall location. They had to use sandbags previously to stop that door from getting water in it. So that was our location for building the wall. You can see the railroad ties already in place there. There was already one layer, but it wasn't really a wall. It was just a structure to keep that solid. And then on the right, that's one of the old rings out of the 7. You can see it's really shallow, and that could present a fire hazard if it was windy. And here are the 7 rings. So Davis Creek possessed 7 other rings that were donated by TMCC already, but they weren't coated with any material. So that's our next step. And those are the 7 rings that we're going to be installing in place of the existing ones. So there I am. This was our prep day. It wasn't the official work day, but it was coating the outside of the rings with like a weathering material and anti-rust material that'll keep them nice for a long time instead of not coating them at all. And there's my dad. He's helping me coat the rings. And there are the 7 rings on our prep day. You can see some of the railroad ties in the background that we already put into place previously. Those are the ones that we're going to be using for the wall. And there are the 7 rings right in front there. We didn't spray the inside because the instructions on the spray said we couldn't because of fire and heat and it might melt. So we only did the outsides. And there's on our official work day, 3 of the helpers taking the railroad ties out of the truck. Previously, it was in the maintenance yard, all 16 of the railroad ties. So on the workday morning, we took them from the maintenance yard, loaded them into the truck, brought them up to the bathroom area, and then unloaded them from there. So on the left there, you can see one of the rings in place. The concrete is really cracked and is really bad condition. And then there's one of our helpers on the right, removing all the old concrete so we can have a nice blank canvas to put the 7 rings in place. And there are a bunch of our helpers on the left prying one of the rings out. That was one of the trickiest parts. We had 2 anchors in the rings that went into concrete bases below the ground, so we had to crack that old concrete under the ground, pry those out, and a lot of them came out in pieces, like you can see on the right. That ring's in really bad condition, so that was one that definitely had to be removed. We also had to remove the concrete under them. And then back to the wall, we had 3 people working on the retaining wall by the bathroom, and then the other 7 people were working on replacing the fire rings. So on the left there, you can see after we unloaded all the railroad ties, they're laid out, all ready to go. And then on the right, we used a mix of rebar and screws, and there are the 3 people working on the retaining wall, measuring, putting the rebar in place, the screws in place, everything like that, and cutting the railroad ties as well. And there's me and my uncle on the left. He's one of the railroad tie wall helpers. And we're hammering rebar in to make sure that it's sturdy and that everything stays in place. And then on the right, that's a different campsite, one of the 7 that they're removing the rings. And for the new rings, we loaded them into the truck 3 at a time. So we had to make a couple trips, and then we unloaded them at each campsite. And then on the right there, there was a few slides back where we were in that same campsite removing a ring. And then if you look, there's the new ring. We flattened the ground under it, made it all dirt. There was no more concrete. And there's one of the new rings in place, so much better. And then after the wall was finished, I took a far picture that you can see on the left. So it was 4 high and 4 wide on top of what it already was. So you can see that's a huge difference from what it was, just that one tie on the bottom. And then once it rains, it'll coat the bottom of that with a nice layer of earth, and then no more water will get through and no more debris will get through. And then there's the finished wall cleanup on the right. You can see it from a little closer angle than the one on the left. And that's it. And there's our 10 helpers. 10 helpers for 7 hours, so there was a total of 70 man-hours on there. And that's my project. Thank you.
Thank you, Sovereign. Are there any questions from the commission?
I just have a question. This might be for Ranger Nick, but what was the water problem? Was it just hillside drainage, sheet flowing down the hill that was collecting against the bathroom doors? Is that what the issue was?
Correct. When we get the thunderstorms in the summer, it just washes that sediment down, and then it floods that entire restroom chase area. So
Gotcha.
we're always mucking that out. So we figured a little retaining wall might help prevent that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Question for both of you. I'm curious how you got together to do this. It's a good, relevant project, a good experience. It helps out the park. It achieves your project goals. How did this come together?
Yeah, so a few years back, I think it was December 2016, I was camping with my troop there, and there was a huge rainstorm, and then when we woke up, we all had inches of water in our tent because we were camping on a hill, and the water kept flowing down into our tents. That was definitely the worst campsite I've ever, or worst camping trip I've ever been on. And then my dad had the idea a few months before my project about maybe leveling the area around there and putting some retaining walls for campsites, so we wouldn't have that problem of flooding. But due to like engineering and moving earth, that couldn't work out. So then I came up with the idea and talked to Ranger Nick. I wanted to keep it at Davis Creek because our troop goes there a lot. So I brought up the idea of doing a retaining wall. I asked him if there's anything other than flattening out those campsites that we could do, and then he suggested the retaining wall, and it just went from there.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Any other comments or questions? Well, I'd like to end by, Nick, thank you for putting this all together and working with Sovereign on the project. And Sovereign, have you attained your Eagle Scout already?
Not yet. I have one more merit badge that they added recently it was on July 1st, and I didn't get the project done by July 1st, so I have to do one more, and then my board review, and that's it.
Well, congratulations on the effort to get there.
Thank you.
I know you will, because you got the determination to make it happen. And thank you so much for doing this project for Washoe County Parks. I mean, it's so vitally important to the Parks Department to have volunteers such as yourself getting out there and finding a need and meeting that need and working with staff to make it happen. And my last comment, don't ever stop volunteering. You do a great job. Continue. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next project.
Good afternoon, commissioners and guests. I'm happy to be here and to introduce, let me first introduce myself. I'm Ranger Christopher Smichek, based out of Lazy 5 Park in Sparks, and I'd like to introduce to you Eagle Scout candidate James Kepke. James completed his Eagle Scout project at Lazy 5 Park. It was an excellent project which both beautified the park and contributed to the ecology, namely the protection of our very valuable and threatened bee population here in Nevada. So without further ado, I'd like to let James tell you about the project. Go ahead, James.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Just gonna... Everything okay with the slideshow then?
It's thinking.
Oh. So is it all right if I continue then? Or
I can just have one moment. We'll see.
all right, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Sorry. I can't seem to get the slideshow to work, but we can still see it, so I can advance still while you talk.
All right. Well, so then that means clicker doesn't work, or?
Go ahead and try it. Let's see if it does.
And James, just so you know, we have a handout,
Oh, all right.
so we can follow on the handout if necessary.
All right.
I can still advance. We can see it pretty well. I just, for some reason, the slideshow, I'm
cool.
clicking it and it's not happening.
Should I just give you like thumbs up when I want the?
That'd be
things?
great.
All
Thank
right,
you.
perfect.
Yeah.
So the Lazy 5 Regional Park off of Pyramid Highway, we decided to do a pollination garden where we put in a foot trail and a bridge, along with bee houses for solitary bees. Project was designed for, I'm going to read right off the. This project was designed to put in a new pollination garden with new plants. Like we put in around 45 plants. The 42, we ended up adding more. We decided we'd put in shrubs, flowers for pollination, and just to add scenery for that area, along with putting in a small bridge and a walking trail for people to walk by, and solitary bee houses for, well, solitary bees. Next slide. We decided to, we met with the park rangers there. We met with Park Ranger Gabe, and we talked to him about solitary bee houses, and he said he had an area that he wanted to do for a pollination garden. And so we ended up going over near the horseshoe pit where they have a large open space with trees that hasn't been really used much. A lot of the drip system was broken. There wasn't anything there. The creek was all messed up. You can, next slide. Or, well, actually, that was fine. That's fine. That's fine. So we talked to him. We started planning out the project, put in a new bee house to install solitary bee houses, trail, and all that. Just next slide. I didn't really plan out this PowerPoint. So what you can see there are our solitary bee houses. They're designed for solitary bees, which are native. A lot of them are native here in Nevada. They do not live in hives, but live by themselves. They often nest in little shallow holes that go down, shallow holes that they can fill with pollen and lay their larvae in, and then fill them up in the fall with mud to cap them. And inside those holes is where the larvae will grow, eat the pollen, and cocoon and turn into more native bees. This is important because native bees make up most of the pollination here in Nevada. Honeybees, they are important, but their population has only been inclining since roughly 1990, and they are bad at pollinating, even though they are used on large scales for farming and such. Which they can't even pollinate most of the crops. Mostly native bees do. Next slide. I'm sorry, I can't really. Slide. Those are our plants that we got. We bought mostly at Lowe's and Home Depot. We had a budget around $400 for plants and materials that we got from selling popcorn, I think a couple years previous that we had left over. Those are our bee houses there. We built 3 of them, which those will be mounted on 8-foot large posts, which were 8-foot tall posts that we buried 2 feet in the ground for support. They are mounted in a south-facing direction so they can get the morning sun and keeps the bees happy. Next slide. That is our bridge we put in. I believe it's about 8 foot long and about 5 foot wide, roughly. We built it, I forget what the measurements for, and we also built a park sign that we posted near that bridge along the trail to notify that that's a pollination garden. We also made boards for labeling all the plants, so it could be also an educational thing, so people can, what's the word? People know what the plants are, and that those plants, they're good for pollination, they look good, so people can buy these plants themselves, put in their own yards. And it's just great for the environment. There are a lot of water, not resistant, but they are drought resistant. Next slide. Resistant. This is our group of volunteers that we did at the project. We had about 20 volunteers. This is just our scouts. We also had parents that helped us. The project took about 3 hours, but about 145 hours in total for all the planning and prepping, building the bee houses, the bridge, and setting up. Next slide. Next slide. You just click through these slowly. These are just pictures of us doing the project. We cleaned out the creek there and rebuilt using rocks from the creek and rocks that they had actually brought in to put in a roughly 200-foot walking trail and to help like just make the creek look nice so that we could actually retain water if it did downpour, and just so that way it actually was a usable area and it looked good. Looked good. So those are our entrance points for entrance. It starts there off by the trail by the horseshoe pits, and it ends about by where the road is, where the fence ends. It goes through the area, across the bridge, and loops around, or not loops around, just goes through. And along that trail, we have our plants pit in, and then up on the hill, you can see you can keep going. There's our bee houses, which are on our 6-foot or 8-foot long tall poles. That's for the bees. Just keep going. I don't know. I didn't know this was today, so I didn't have time. Those are all our plants, so we planted in. We watered them, came back and watered them for about a week afterwards until they put in a new drip system and replaced some of the old drip, so they stay alive. You can keep going. That is just more image of the bridge, and also there on the left is pictures of the before. So before and after. You can keep going. This is where the trail starts. It's right there by the horseshoe pit. If you go to the right, that's where the horseshoe pit is. And you continue on up there. You can see that's where the bridge is, and that's also where we have the sign and have all our plants planted. Keep going. Okay, that's the end of the slideshow.
He had a really cool video in there, and I don't know if it's just because it's such a big file that it's not loading, but I'm sorry you guys missed it. It was a nice panoramic of the project.
Yeah, that's what the slide right before. Yeah, does that video just not play? All right.
I'm so sorry. It is, take my word
that's
for
fine.
it. He did a really nice job with it.
Well, that's slideshow. Project took a long time, but I think the budget was $400, but we ended up spending about $750 of our own. $350 of our own, $400 of the popcorn money, which we have saved. Project took the time, because we broke up into groups to complete each task. It took about 3.5 hours total just to get all this done. The prep for the project was long, but the actual project went by pretty quick.
Thank you, James. James, you did a good job. Okay, great presentation. Any questions or comments from the commission?
I have a quick
Good job.
comment.
Go ahead on whoever's online.
Who's talking, please?
Commissioner Dintelli. I just wanted to say that the craftsmanship looks fantastic, and I did not even know that we had a native species of bee like that in northern Nevada. It looks like a fantastic project. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a question. First of all, good job with both the project and the presentation. Like those bee houses, what's the expected life of those, like just out in the weather?
Out in the weather, I'm expecting they'll last. They're with redwood, so they'll last, because you can't use treated wood because of the bees.
Sure.
But redwood hardens over time, and it's resistant in elements. So those will last quite a few years. I can't give you an exact time, but they can withstand the elements we have here in Nevada, especially the sun. So they should be up there for a while. Good.
Okay, and Ranger Chris, right? Is that going to be kind of just part of your maintenance checks to make sure that they're in good shape and replace them when they finally rot away, or how does that get factored in?
Yeah, we usually continue to maintain the projects. On this project, since we've added irrigation to that area, we've also had some unwanted plants coming into that area.
Sure.
So we've spent a little bit of time clearing those out. But we've also had some very desirable plants come up on their own. So we have quite a bit of milkweed growing in there. So as well as the bees, we may attract some butterflies to that area as well. But yeah, we intend to do the ongoing maintenance.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Any other comments? Again, James, both to you and Sovereign, your presentations were very good. And James, sorry for the hiccups in the slide presentation, but it was very well thought out. Your project was very well thought out. The amount of time and materials you put into it was outstanding. And as I told Sovereign, keep doing the volunteer work. You do a absolutely great job of planning it and making it happen, getting the volunteers together, and apparently spending your own money on this one. So thanks for putting that effort forward too. But don't ever stop volunteering. And Chris, thank you so much for leading him through the process. And hopefully this kind of project, along with, well, we don't have many campsites, but in terms of our other parks where we have gardens like Rancho San Rafael and May Arboretum, this would be something that might be beneficial there. So just a thought. Thank you very much to both of you. And when do you attain your Eagle Scout, James? When do you attain your Eagle Scout? Or do you already have it?
I still need to do my border review.
Keep it up. Thank you. All right. Colleen is going to take item number 8, discussion about the newly adopted Chapter 95 section of County Code specific to the powers and duties of the Open Space and Regional Park Commission, as well as setting the schedule for the frequency of meetings.
Thank you. Welcome, commissioners, staff. My name is Colleen Wallace-Barnum, Park Operations Superintendent. Today before you, I included the staff report and also a copy of the current Chapter 95 code. So if you look through previous action, you can see that we have been at this for a while. So this has come before Park Commission for many years, and many folks before you that sat in your positions wanted to see some changes to the Park Commission, and they finally got adopted. So I wanted to go through it kind of step by step, really focusing today on the powers and duties that are in Section 7, in addition to Section 6, which is meetings, records, and quorums. First, wanted to make sure you understand that every time if you go before the Board of County Commissioners, you have to have 2 readings of any type of change to county code. So the second reading and adoption was on May 24th of 2022. So it has been adopted now for a few months. And so we wanted to come to you and ask about your, really we need your take on a few of the different things that are going on. So some of the commissioners before you wanted to see some additional powers and duties. And if you look on the third page of your, the second page under background, you can see that there was the first item was a reduction in the number of mandatory meetings. At one point, or really what we're currently at is 9 meetings a year with our previous Chapter 95 County Code, and that is reduced to 4 meetings a year. That is what we are currently. We can reduce the number to 4. And then you can see that there were some other items that previous commissioners wanted us to address in Chapter 95, which we did. So focusing on the first part, which is the reduction in number of mandatory meetings, if you look at the additional powers that are provided to you, and that would be on the third page. So the additional powers or greater authority is that you will be the final approving body for these bulleted items. So they won't go to the Board of County Commissioners any longer. It'll simply come to Park Commission. You'll be the final approving body, and then parks can move forward from there. And these are substantial. This is really good. I think it creates efficiency in government, which is really helpful. So first is a fee schedule. We used to bring the fee schedule to Park Commission and then Board of County Commissioners, sometimes annually. We haven't done that since 2018. And we plan to soon in November if we can. Park district plans, we haven't seen any of those, but you have seen 2 park master plans this year, and we do plan to update 2 additional park master plans. So, these are some pretty big items to be addressed at Park Commission. In addition, park naming and design, special event agreements, that's a big one. For example, the Battle Axe and Tracks event that's coming to Rancho San Rafael at the beginning of October. Previously, that would always go to Park Commission for approval. You would recommend approval, and then it would go to Board of County Commissioners. Special events will just be approved here. And then discretionary permits, as outlined in Section 110 of the Washoe County Code. I skipped over park policies and guidelines. If we were to either add or change any of our policies or guidelines, in addition to resolutions of support. So focusing on really just the authority within Park Commission, we do believe that based on that greater authority, meetings may go longer. You may have more questions. There might be more discussion. There may be more, really maybe we need to come back with an item if you have questions and we haven't, gotten everything together that we need to for you to feel comfortable in making some of those decisions. So we wanted to make a recommendation based on those additional powers and duties that it would be important that we can conduct all the meetings. We might have more agenda items as well. It might become that we have more agenda items, but we don't want to delay approval processes either. If we have a promoter that wants to come and do a special event in the park, and we do meetings quarterly, they might not get approval for 3 months, and they really needed approval quicker than that. So trying to make sure we don't delay any of those approval processes. And knowing that frequency of meetings right now being monthly may not be necessary either. So we recommend that we do meetings every other month. And meetings right now occur on Tuesdays at 2:30, and they happen between 2 other meetings. So Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District has a meeting with their board at 10 a.m. on Tuesdays, the first Tuesday of the month, and then Planning Commission has a meeting at 6 p.m. So we're kind of in between those 2 meetings currently. So we might want to think about time if we want to, start them at 2 p.m. or maybe start them a little bit earlier. I don't know how much earlier we could go based on that other meeting. We could also think about another day. If we think about another day, we probably need to get some more information from the manager's office on what would be available in these chambers. So, just making sure I'm outlining it. If anybody has questions, that's what I'm here to answer questions and really kind of go through some discussion points or topics that I haven't addressed that maybe you have questions about. But we thought maybe if we adjusted it and went 6 times a year as opposed to 9 times a year, that way we're at least meeting every other month. We wouldn't have too much of a delay, and we would be able to still, try to keep on track. And then even if that wasn't sufficient, we could potentially add, either add more or we could have less. I think we maybe try it for a period of time and see how that goes. So you can see what our recommendation is, and certainly from here, open to discussion on what your thoughts are.
Any questions from the commission on Colleen's report to this point?
I do have a question. This is Commissioner Kearney. I'm on Zoom here. My question has less to do with the frequency, but with the increase in the powers, it seems. I'm wondering if this doesn't move the whole commission into maybe having bond requirements for us at this stage. It seems we've gone beyond advising to really making some significant impact. and I'm not sure, so I thought I would ask. Does this change that for us as a body, as a group?
So did you say bonding?
Yes.
Yes.
Bonding? I'm not sure I can answer that question. I might defer to our Deputy District Attorney.
Yes, this is Deputy District Attorney Lindsay Liddell. I'm not aware of any bond requirements. I know the county as a whole has various bonds. And as far as any liability that you all are worried about, the DA's office does represent commissioners if any action were to, if you were to get sued in the course and scope of that. So that's covered that way.
Okay. That answers my question. Thanks.
Did? Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
I had a
Go
question
ahead.
and a comment. First of all, I think that schedule sounds very reasonable. Split the difference. I have a question on the list of the staff report on page 3 that's talking about this was approved by the Open Space Commission July of 2016. There are a few sections with recommended changes since 2016, and then it was the list that you read, the fee schedule, special events, et cetera. These are items that are coming up, and basically my question is about smoke-free parks and e-bikes. Are those upcoming items, or have those already been addressed?
Those have already been addressed. So, so the focus of today's staff report and action would just be those powers and duties associated with this commission, and then frequency of meetings. But we did make our parks smoke-free parks. We did address motorized use on trails with e-bikes, and we did allow for enforcement authority to enforcement officials, which would be our park rangers and district managers, and that all got passed in May. So that is all
these
part.
are this
Correct.
year's
That's
changes.
all inclusive. Those were items that came up from 2016 to present.
Okay, thank you. That's right, because I thought some of these were done. So,
Yes, they are.
I would be happy to make a motion if there's no other comment, Chair.
I'd like to comment first, if you don't mind. And before, we'll take the motion, then we can ask for public comments after that. But I would agree with you. I think every other month it makes more sense. We can always have special meetings. The chair can call for a special meeting and ask for one. We can have off-site meetings. We can have public workshops off-site on specific projects, et cetera. So there's always the opportunity to have other meetings other than the standard meeting, whether it be every other month or every quarter. That is at the discretion of the chair of the commission, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, Chair Doolittle, that is correct. And if staff would request another meeting, the director can reach out to the chair and have that set up.
So I wanted to make sure everybody was clear on that before we get into the motion. But other than that, I think all the changes that I've seen and over the years have been very well thought out and discussed much too often at times, but I think all the additions to Chapter 95 have been recommended almost annually. So it's a project that will probably get more changes into the future, but hopefully we've gone far enough with examples like you brought up, motorized vehicles on trails and smoking in the parks, et cetera. Those have been debated long and hard for many years now. But the Chapter 95, as I see it, is well thought out and well done. And I think the main point now is when we have meetings, because going in the past, as you may have heard before you came on the commission, we had a hard time getting a quorum. We had a hard time getting a meeting. We had meetings canceled because of that reason. And I anticipate going into the future that may happen as well, because it's awful hard to find good people such as yourselves to sit on a commission and be here month after month after month for any given period of time. So I will be quiet now. So if you want to make your motion, go for it.
Sure. the Open Space and Regional Parks Commission moves to set the regularly scheduled number of meetings to 6 times annually to occur the first Tuesday of November, January, March, May, July, and September.
Thank you for the motion. Is there a second?
This is Commissioner.
I
Davis.
second.
Second that motion.
And before we take a vote on that, then are there any public comments?
No public comment.
All right, thank you very much for the motion and the second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Well, all those opposed, please signify by saying no. Thank you. Motion passes. Is there anything else on Chapter 95 that you want to bring up, or?
No, we've been at this for 15 years.
Yeah.
So we're excited to have this, the changes move forward, and we will plan our next meeting for November. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Colleen. All right, Park Program of the Month. Artist Edwin Martinez Escobar highlights his work on the Mccarran Tunnel Murals and North Valley Skatepark project.
Okay, great. Hi there, I'm Celia Walker, Park Ranger based out of Rancho Santa Fe. And we've put together a little presentation here to highlight our artist, Edwin Martinez Escobar. He's come today. I'll go through the presentation and then I'm passing it on to you. I'm going to just point to you, Denise.
Can you try again? No?
Nothing's happening.
I'll do it.
Okay. Edwin, he was born in Mexico City, moved to Reno at age of 9. This is how he gets all of his inspiration, is Mexico's rich culture, indigenous roots of Spanish heritage, and being exposed to many other cultural influences from around the world. Awakened his love and passion for art. After serving 4 years in the military, he started his career in murals and other art forms. His biggest influences are Diego Rivera, Jose Clemente Orozco, and David Alfaro Siqueiros. Yes? Edwin always says, everything you create comes from alma y corazón, heart and soul, which he gives all of in all of his work. Here are the before pictures of the Mccarran Tunnel within Rancho Santa Fe. It was an eyesore. We were constantly covering up graffiti every week. I had to throw in some of the G-rated tags. It was not an inviting place to enter. Most people didn't know about it, and it was just a real eyesore. Some different projects had been done in the past, but maybe they didn't look professional enough, or they just got tagged as well and destroyed. So in May 2021, we partnered with artist Edwin Martinez Escobar to beautify the Mccarran Tunnel and mural the wing wall entrances. Each wing wall, we all collectively came up with represented a different season and feature something that you might find on the other side of the park. We wanted to be this like a tunnel portal. So on the north side of Rancho Santa Fe is very natural, and just with trails and the inn and Evans Creek Nature Trail, and the owls nest there every spring. So this is what we came up with. So the southwest wing wall is all about the state of Nevada. The mountain bluebird, we've got the bristlecone pine, the sagebrush, the mountains in winter. And then on the southeast wall, the great horned owls in the spring. And we love the little owlet above the tunnel as you're going in. On the north side, we did a public photo contest for the happiest dog in the pasture. It was a dog to be featured on the northwest wall mural. Had over 100 photos submitted, and we left the final decision up to Edwin. He chose June, and that's a picture of her before he started the mural. And this is the summertime on what you'll find on the south side of the park. We have the balloon races coming up this weekend, and we've got the pasture, the off-leash dogs. It's summertime, so we've got the hay bale there. And then on the north east wall, we've got mountain biking, and in the fall, we have all the aspen trees in the fall. Edwin, he just keeps going, and he wants to paint the entire inside of the tunnel, which would take a long time. But it's almost 300 feet long. He's also painted a hawk, an ibis, the female mountain bluebird, and the two runner-up photo contest winners, Gus Gus and Teddy Newsome. Edwin, he received his sponsors from local organizations, businesses, and citizens to complete all these murals. Paint and graffiti coating was donated by Reno Paint Mart. Another project that we're just completed and almost done with is the North Valley's Regional Park Skatepark. As you can see, it was just like the tunnel, getting graffitied every week. It's trash left there. If a place looks, not well taken care of, then people tend to disrespect it. So we decided to enlist the help of our Washoe County Youth Employment Program. They were a group of about 10 kids. They work on their school breaks with the Washoe County Juvenile Services. And the goal for them is to learn a skill and also, do a project from start to finish in the parks. We love to have them, and this was a good project for them. Edwin, he volunteered his own time to work with the group of youth and paint the outside of the skate park. These amazing bright colors. We got some stencils of skater silhouettes. And the Youth Employment Program, the group, they really learned how to paint and do the stencils. They also helped install 2 benches there and weeded the entire area. Edwin did an amazing mural on the very front of the skate park. And this is a picture of the group. They can't show their faces in photos. That's why they're all turned around. But we are so grateful for Edwin. He's bringing his passion into the parks here, and it's making them beautiful. So we'd like to say thank you and bring you up.
Thank you. No, it's an honor to be working with you guys, and especially Celia and Bob. Nothing but love and respect. And the tunnel will be completed. I'm going to keep working on it. I'm going to keep volunteering and keep making the parks beautiful.
Thank you, Edwin. Absolutely beautiful job on all of the artwork.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any comments from the commissioners?
Just comment on how much it just brings to life all that whole area that was kind of depressing before. It's beautiful work.
The tunnel, yeah. It looked
really appreciate that.
Yeah, nobody wanted to go through it, and now people take pictures, and it's an attraction.
Is it being respected?
It's being respected so far. It's been over a year, and nothing yet. So,
thank you very much for your efforts.
Thank you.
Nice work.
Thanks.
That was my question. I was curious if it had been graffitied, so that's very good to hear that it hasn't.
Yeah, so far it's been respected.
So thank you very much for doing that, Edwin. And my question for Chair Doolittle, do we have a way of doing like a proclamation certificate for someone like Edwin?
We certainly do, and I'd like staff to put that together for our review and approval.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for doing what you did for those parks. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Any other comments?
Yes, I've got two, or a comment and a question. The relationship between the county and the artist, how did that come about?
About 2 years ago, we actually tried to go through a grant, right? And we did not get it, but we had already talked, and it was something that was calling my name, and we made it happen.
Thank you for that. So to expand on that, does the commission, do us as a body, do we have any way of funding future public art projects such as this? While this PowerPoint presentation looks great, if you haven't seen it in person, you've just got to, because the colors are just popping. And when you see it from different times of day, it's astounding. This whole presentation should be up on Washoe Life. And because our job is to promote our culture, wouldn't it be wonderful to see the commission come together and find some sort of funding mechanism that we can start to begin planting seeds of opportunities for artists like this? It's incredible to see. That's my comment and my question.
I can address part of that, but I'd like staff to address the other part. The Board of County Commissioners approves budget funding for all projects. Certainly, there are mechanisms out there for county staff to look for grant funding for projects like this, if it's available. But any funding coming out of the Parks Department would have to be approved by the Board of County Commissioners, as I understand it, over the years. And certainly staff can make recommendations that come through us to the Board of County Commissioners, but it would not be something that our commission could approve funding for, other than as a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. Am I correct on that? Okay.
Yep, this is Deputy District Attorney Lindsay Liddell. The only other thing I could think of is soliciting donations, other than, like you said, the budget process, and then staff looking at grants.
Did that answer your question?
That answered my question for the moment. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I'll just let you know, we looked at grants, and we were going to partner with KTMB, Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful, as the nonprofit, and they would do the grant and such, and the park would benefit from it. We ended up, Edwin solicited, for donations. We solicited certain partners to contribute to Edwin, and you also did a GoFundMe. And so we worked with it, and we're happy it all worked out.
Would it be possible, recognizing Edwin's efforts out there, to put a sign out there basically saying, if you like this project or would like other similar projects, think about providing funding to the county or donations to the county for the effort through a Iron Ranger?
Yeah, we could install that for sure. That would be a good idea. At the tunnel, I think that would be perfect.
Feel free to correct me, but from my experience in some other parks in this region that have dealt with Iron Rangers, is it often doesn't cover staff times to go collect the funds and maintain it. And anyone that has a clothes hanger and a stick of chewed bubble gum can retrieve, cash bills from the Iron Ranger. So I don't know if you guys have had those issues, but that's been a significant problem at some of our trailheads. So maybe like a QR code type thing, or?
Yeah, we can discuss doing electronic, right? A QR or some sort of account that people could donate to. I don't know if we have such a thing, but we could set it up. That would be easier. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
And Edwin, once again, thank you so much.
No, it's an honor.
Your artwork is beautiful. It really enhances the area, and I think it sends a very clear message that there are artists in the world that care, and it kind of speaks against anybody going out there with graffiti, and it sends a good message.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one more question. Lights in the tunnel. Has that been looked at anymore?
We did look at that. I got some quotes, and
Not easy.
$15,000 was the discount.
15,000 was the discount?
Yes.
That was,
for solar.
so what was the total cost?
15,000.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's much less than I expected.
Well, that was the discounted price
right.
that they gave us. Normally 25,000, and the quote I got was 15, and that was the least expensive for solar lighting throughout the tunnel every 25 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Conserve Nevada, the new state grant funding? Maybe?
Is that a
You have big projects going in for that one?
Yeah, we had discussed, Edwin, doing art shows in the tunnel. It's a unique space, you know, for big events like Art Town last year, or, you know, the balloon race is coming up. It's kind of a unique area for artists to showcase their work. So maybe just temporary lighting for that in the meantime.
Okay.
Yeah. We did paint the inside of the tunnel all white. And we had community volunteers stencil some swallows flying through the tunnel. They used to nest in there. We had over 80 volunteers show up for the event, and so that has brightened it inside, the bright white, and it makes it interesting. Some of the swallows were not stenciled, so they have interesting shapes. But yeah, it was a great project. And I do want to throw in North Valleys Regional Park. Already we've seen a huge difference. And just this past Sunday, after the busy Saturday, I only picked up 2 pieces of litter there, which is pretty unheard of. So it makes a big difference.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Thank you both very much. Any other comments, questions? Thank you. All right, item 11, Parks Reports.
Okay, for the record, Colleen Wallace-Farnham, Park Operations Superintendent. Let me pull up the reports. So the first one, I wanted to just highlight a few things on the Park District report. Bowers Mansion Park hosted the Bluegrass Festival. I'm going to ask Nick, since our park ranger is here who manages Bowers Mansion, how many years have they been doing this? I think I looked on the website. I think we're at 28 or 29 years. I mean, we're close to a 30-year mark of this event happening at Bowers Mansion, which is really amazing. And we've had some changes in their board and the group of people that put it on, but it's been an ongoing tradition out at Bowers Mansion Park, and it's a really fun event if you haven't gone. And we actually do tours that same day of the mansion. It's more of like a walkthrough tour, just a self-guided tour, but it's worth going if you have an opportunity. Bowers Pool, our splash pad area, finally reopened to the public. So we have been open since the second week in August, and we will actually extend Bowers Pool operations on weekends only through September 25th. So we're excited to offer that to the public since it took a while for that splash pad to get reopened. We decided to, not reopened, opened, and then we decided to extend that date. Hawkins Amphitheater saw pretty heavy use in August, which it usually does with the Sierra School of Performing Arts. And then in the North region, Lazy 5 concert series wrapped up in August. Rancho San Rafael, the Arboretum hosted the Dragon Lights Reno event, and we'll do a report on that, a thorough report in November, because I think it'll be good for you to see everything. But we saw record numbers, probably what the Arboretum sees annually. We saw that in 6 weeks, so 92,000 visitors in 6 weeks, which is pretty incredible. And we also stand to gain in that financially, which is wonderful. And then a couple of upcoming events. Park Ranger Celia Walker mentioned that the balloon races is this weekend. That's our biggest event at Rancho. We get tens of thousands of people. It's a free event. So if you haven't been, I imagine if you've lived here long enough, you have been, but please attend that if you'd like to. It's busy, but it's also just worth it. It's amazing. And then we've got, I just wanted to highlight a few other things at the May Center. I left the May Center annual report for all of you. Those of you that are here virtually, I'd be happy to mail those off to you. We do these reports every year for the foundation that supports the May Center, which is the museum and the Arboretum. And we'll go over, I think in November, we'll do a May Center update. So that'll include Dragon Lights Reno and then anything upcoming in the museum. So just want to make sure you all know that that report is something that we do every year, and you will get a copy of that every year as well. And then Commissioner Joel had a question about the Conserve Nevada. I think it's a great idea if we come up with maybe a variety of art projects that Edwin would love to take on. We might want to do that on a larger scale, but we did put forth several requests for funding for that in the first round. This will be 20 years, I believe. It's going to be just like the SQ1 that passed in 2001, so we should have year after year have the ability to get some funding for some different projects, which is wonderful. I'm not sure if it's art specific, but we can certainly look into that. But I feel like there's multiple other grant opportunities in that area. And then wanted to let you know that we did get awarded $407,000 from the Nevada Division of Wildlife, and that is for the regional archery facility. So we just recently approved a master plan update, put in some grant money, and we actually got awarded some funding, and that'll help some improvements with the parking. We'll actually be able to install a restroom facility, and then some general course improvements. So it's great to see master plan update and then getting some funding for it, which I think that's always one of the questions that people have is, it's great to do these plans, but sometimes you don't always see the funding coming through. So that's a really nice win there. And then other than that, volunteer services, about the same amount of volunteer hours as last month. It's hot, not as many people out there volunteering, but we expect that'll increase soon. We do have a large event with Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful, September 24th, and that's the Truckee River cleanup, but we do a variety of different locations for that, and Denise manages all of those. Does anybody have any questions on park reports?
Any questions, commissioners? I just have a comment. Please thank all the staff for all the hard work they're doing, particularly during these days that are over 100 degrees, and they're out there trying to keep things green when it's almost impossible to keep things green. And but in my visitation to many of the parks, they look great. So thanks to the staff and the volunteers that make that happen every single day.
Thank you. I will be sure to pass that along.
I have a general comment I'd like to make since Ranger Nick is here. So I had the opportunity to recently visit Wilson's Commons, which has got to be the most unknown Washoe County park facility. And I understand that you are in charge of that park. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. So amazing. So good job, Nick. So if you guys get a chance, go down in Washoe Valley and visit Wilson Commons Park. Just a very, very nice little oasis tucked in Washoe Valley there. So thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Any other comments? And thank you, Colleen. All right, director's report. Is that you, Eric?
Good afternoon. For the record, Eric Crump with Washoe County's Community Services Department, and Director Solaro actually got caught up in another meeting. So the board took action on 3 items in August related to parks. One of them, they accepted a $300,000 donation from the Wilbur D. May Center. $200,000 of that is earmarked for general operating expenses for both the Arboretum and the main museum. And then $100,000 is earmarked for the temporary exhibits that we bring into the museum, and that's on an annual basis. They've been doing that for many, many years. They also accepted a little over $3,000 from various businesses and organizations and donations. And lastly, they approved the agreement between Washoe County and Washoe Tennis Club, which came to this commission last year. So that maintenance or that agreement is now fully executed. And then lastly, there's been a request from the Director of Parks and Recreation, the City of Reno, Jamie Schroeder. The Reno Parks and Recreation Commission is interested in doing a joint meeting with City of Reno, City of Sparks, and this commission. We've historically done that kind of every other year. Obviously, throughout COVID, I believe it's been through since we didn't have one in 2021. So the last one was actually in 2020, I believe. They're throwing out a proposed date of Tuesday, February 21st at 6 p.m. And so you have an agenda item on your agenda that's next that you can propose meetings. So if you're interested in doing that, that would be the time. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions of the director? Comments? Seeing none? Thank you, Eric. Commissioner requests for future agenda items. I'll open it up to anybody that has any comments or not. No. We can request.
For the record, Eric Crump, Washoe County's Community Service Department. This item would allow you to request a future agenda item, and so that agenda item would be us bringing that meeting to you to take action on.
Yeah, yes.
So I would like to request an agenda item for the November meeting to join the joint meeting in February 21st.
Noted? Okay. Thank you. Any other requests or comments or related to your thoughts about the future agenda items? Okay, seeing none. I believe the next item is public comments. Are there any public comments?
No public comment.
No public comments. All right. Last item, adjournment. Thank you very much, staff and everybody, for being here online. Hopefully you can come to some future meetings. That'd be great. Our next meeting will be in November. Thank you.